All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order of the Property Committee for Thursday, May 5th, 2022. Uh, Happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone.
No.
For those of you who are not aware, Vice Chair Johnson is turning 29 today. So congratulations and happy birthday.
I think we need to correct the record. I am not 29.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's just the default age I always, yes. All right, well, moving through the agenda, all committee members are present except for Lindsay Bloomfield. Next order of business is approval of the consent agenda. May I have a motion from the committee for approval? Motion by member Wachynski, second by member Klein. All those in favor of approving item number 2, consent agenda, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you so much. Item 3, appearance by members of the public. Do we have anyone to appear today?
Chairman Barnett, we have not had any requests.
That was my assumption since it's only electeds and staff in the room. Thank you. All right. Item number 4, departmental matters. Mr. Steffa, Director of Parks and Recreation. No items for action, but I know you have a report inside the packet and there's a few things you'd like to talk to us about. So welcome, sir.
Thank you and good afternoon. One of the items that was requested last time, Member Lehman requested that we look into getting a recycling container, and unfortunately, everybody that I've talked to cannot deliver that far out north. They stay inside the city limits. So, in talking to the Ecology Action Center, I put in several phone calls, didn't hear back from them, but as far as I understand, they don't do any big containers either. So they just do like inside buildings and things like that.
Any questions for Mr. Steffa on that item in particular? Vice Chair Johnson, please.
Thank you. I did reach out to Mr. Brown this morning, and he said that he was open to trying to have a discussion to see if we can't make that work. The 2 that you did reach out to that you had confirmation, they don't do recycling that far out, and that he acknowledged that, but he did say there might be possibilities to look at a couple of other companies that are providing recycling in the rural areas. So it would at least be open for discussion. So I think that we should try to pursue that a little bit further. He was open to that for sure. So.
I will definitely look into that further.
Mr. Steffa, is there anything else in your report you'd like to highlight for us?
Not in the report, but I did. I know how much the sewage treatment plant is such a joy to all of us, and we ended up with another clog in the line, and I spent a couple sleepless nights, but worrying about it. But thankfully, Hair Construction came out and fixed the problem. They found several blockages in the line and took care of it. So all is flowing free now.
That is very good news. Yes, please.
So
Klein.
were the lines blocked by things that humans have put into the lines, or were there interferences with roots, or?
Both.
Okay, because I mean, better signage. People like to flush all sorts of stuff that they shouldn't flush. If we had some good signage, because we don't want to make you lose sleep all the time.
Yeah, we've had a company that we use to pump out our outhouses with, and they have been told that they are no longer allowed to pump into a manhole, that they have to pump directly into the lagoon, because we were afraid that some of that stuff was coming from them when they're pumping it down into the manhole. So they are no longer allowed to do that. and they have been made very clear of that.
Mr. Steffa, one thing I wanted to ask you about, could you give us an update on the beach at Comlara and how things are going there for the season?
The beach is still, I'm gonna be straight up front with you. We've only got three applications for lifeguards. That's gonna be our hang up right now. I did get another application in today, I believe. I haven't looked at it yet. But that will be we'll be ready if we have enough lifeguards. We're ready. We'll be ready.
I kind of wondered if that would be a staffing issue this year with lifeguards.
Yeah, and it's got me scratching my head because we're offering, as far as starting pay, the highest in the area. So we kind of, we've always been a little bit higher than Bloomington and normal because people have to normally drive out to the park, so we give them a little extra for kind of a gas stipend. So, but so far we've only gotten 3.
Any other questions from the committee? Member Lehman?
Do we, so knowing that lifeguarding is one of those positions that requires certifications and like that, do we offer to pay for a certification and advertise it that way too?
They pay for the certification up front. If they stay with us for the entire season, then we reimburse them for that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee for Mr. Steffa about anything for Parks and Recreation? Okay, very good. Mr. Steffa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Mr. Doherty, Facilities Department. Welcome, sir. Good to have you here. The first item that's on there, we have one item for action this evening. It's item B1, 4B1A, request approval of a quote for carpeting in the Corners Department. We can go ahead and get this on the floor, and then we can talk a little more about it. Motion of approval for Vice Chair Johnson, second by Member Klein. Mr. Doherty, what's happening at the Corners office? With the carpet, I guess. That's really
Oh, with the
that's what we want to
with the
focus on.
carpet. Okay. Well, it's several years old, and I guess what the family room as you enter and the entry area is pretty well wrinkled because of floods from the jail overhead. And with wall-to-wall carpeting, it's not just a patch it up. So we're going to go back with carpet squares. So we'll be able to handle any damages because we won't be able to stop the floods from overhead. But that's probably the biggest problem right now.
I remember seeing that carpet being in pretty bad shape, so that's good that
It
we're
is.
able to get that replaced.
And this is an old project. This has been on the books for 2-3 years.
Yeah. Any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving item 4B1A, request approval of a quote for carpeting in the Corners Department, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Mr. Doherty, you've got your monthly report in here. Is there anything you'd like to highlight for the committee?
Not particularly. Are there any questions? Unfortunately, I guess I can speak about the air conditioning project that's still in arrears because of component allocations for Train Company. So I'm having to pour some money into our old equipment, clean it, service it, and some breakdowns I've suffered that I really wasn't looking to spend any money on this year, but by the way things are going, delivery dates, it's going to be next fall before we get these new chillers in. So,
Goodness. All right. Anything else for Mr. Doherty? All right, Mr. Doherty, thank you very much.
you're welcome, sir.
All right, next up, County Administrator Taylor.
Thank you, Chairman Barnett. I have one item for action to be presented tonight, and that is a request for approval of a bid from H.J. Epple for resurfacing of the Government Center parking lot. That's the east lot here beside the Government Center. This project has been assisted by the Highway Department, and they received bids for the resurfacing, and H.J. Epple from Pontiac was the low bidder.
All right, we have a motion to approve 4C1A. Motion by Member Wachinski, second by Member Rogal. All right, any questions or discussion from the committee? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving item 4C1A signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Administrator Taylor, back to you.
The only other items I have for information, I will note that in that same memo, there was a bid for the Metcom parking lot. The funds used for that project will be coming out of the ARPA funding, and so that will be presented to the executive committee for approval. And then you also have your capital improvement plan update there on pages 12 and 13. If you have any questions, I have the experts in the room to help me with those answers.
I did have, well, let me defer to the committee first. Does the committee have any questions at all? Member Rogal.
We had discussed back when we reorganized committees, the tours of all the facilities. Is that still in the planning stages?
We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Great
No,
segue.
That's okay. One question I had for staff about the capital improvement plan. I've been going along the theme that Mr. Doherty had just talked about with the chillers and the backup in manufacturing. Is there anything that's in the CIP that we think may be at risk because of those issues, getting them done within the 2022 calendar year?
I would defer to Mr. Doherty as far as equipment or any items that we've ordered. I can tell you, I do think bandwidth is becoming a problem. Finding contractors, having enough staff to address all the projects. And so that is of concern. Can't think of any other equipment delays.
I don't know of any other equipment delays at this time, but I echo Administrator Taylor's suggestion there, but it is quite an aggressive environment out there as far as contractors they're overwhelmed with work, but yet no parts.
Right.
So I'm sure as I start diving into these other projects, I'm going to find out similar as the train chiller projects that there just aren't any components out there.
I will mention that in our Justice Committee meeting this week, Will Scanlon had a project that he released an RFP for. They had several interested parties come and do the walkthrough, and they received zero bids, or zero proposals, excuse me, zero proposals for that project. And so part of it was timeline, and part of it, there was a very quick turnaround. It was a grant-related project, and they had a hard end date, and they could not commit to getting the project done in that time frame. And so it was a first for McLean County. We've never had that happen before, and we referred back to legal on how to proceed. We were able to get quotes, formal quotes that did the job, but it's just the environment is different than I've ever seen.
Yeah. All right. Administrator Taylor, anything else?
The tour.
Sure.
So, as Member Rogal mentioned, we look forward to the spring and early summer for our annual tour of facilities. And so we are in the process of coordinating schedules with our department heads as well as administration to look at dates that would work for them in hosting us to come and view the facilities and the progress that has been made since last year. We're looking probably at a June, early June date, mid-June dates. The two things that we discussed and I sent out to our department heads, Cassie, was June 20th through the 23rd, and then that following week, like the 27th through 29th. Because before that, we had meetings and there was some other conference or something that we couldn't get around. So as soon as we can confirm that with department heads, the next step will be sending out a doodle poll or reaching out to all of you to see when you have availability. So it's in the works.
Thank you. All right, item 5, any other business or communication to come before the committee? All right, well, hearing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you all for your service to the county.